Well, folks, here we again for the weekly forecast. Of course, the big news was the Arctic intrusion into our region and, of course, some of the accumulating snow that fell last Saturday, completely missed by our models when we were putting the taping together, although as we got closer to the event, of course, the model started to pick up on the precipitation and actually lifted the precipitation shield that we talked about last week in terms of the initial forecast, about 100 to 150 miles toward the northwest. And so we did see some accumulating snowfall, the first of the year for southeastern and south central Nebraska. As we go forward in time, we have several opportunities for accumulating snowfall, and the best locations will be across northeast Nebraska in the near term. And then, of course, we'll start to see a shift toward more central and southern Nebraska as we go through the end of the weekend. We'll get to that in a second, but the one thing I want to draw your attention to is the latest of the precipitation maps for the month of November. And as we go to the map, one thing I'll draw your attention to is this is radar estimated precipitation. So these are not quality control with ground truth, but you will notice that most of the heavier precipitation, that is greater than a half an inch, fell in a very narrow band in central Nebraska, south central Nebraska, and then portions of northeast Nebraska. And we do have a little bit of hail contamination. We knew we had a couple severe thunderstorms that did develop and an isolated tornado that developed during the month of November in this area where we've seen the thunderstorm development. So some of these are probably a little bit overestimated due to the hail contamination. And certainly as you get into portions of southwest Iowa where we see these little red spots, that definitely is a hail contamination issue. But for the remainder of the state, the areas that are in white, less than a half an inch for the entire month, so well below normal. So as we look at what the jet stream is doing today, we see the zonal flow. We have a low that's going to rapidly move across the Dakotas today and generate some snowfall, potentially moving into northeastern Nebraska, where we have the ability maybe of an inch or so of snowfall. And then we start to see the cold air penetrate in for Saturday as a couple of lows move around the system. That's going to generate some snowfall across central Nebraska and possibly holding into the day on early Monday before the cold air really starts to sag in and the main storm track moves up toward the Great Lakes regions as we get into Tuesday. That may give eastern Nebraska a shot of snowfall. Then the real cold air moves into the Great Lakes. We start to see ridging on Wednesday taken into our region, but we're only going to see a slight modification in temperatures until we get to Thursday. And then we start to see more zonal flow. Temperatures will start to increase toward the freezing mark. And then we start to see the systems moving in the western United States, driving a fairly decent trough that will actually increase our temperatures as we go into next weekend. But the flip side is we'll be dealing with a storm system moving out into the central plains that has the potential to create some pretty significant weather. So as we take a look at the precipitation as we go through today, you'll see this narrow track of snow across northeast Nebraska. Then on Sunday, the system starts to get organized across the central Rockies and shoots rapidly out as we get into Monday and Tuesday. So we'll generate some snowfall. You can catch the southeastern portion of the state right now is showing this, but I think we'll see a more widespread precipitation event. In fact, we're looking at up to a quarter inch of moisture with this, so that would be about 2 inches. And then as we go on Thursday, the system starts to organize in the western United States and starts to make its way into the central Rockies on Friday, only to sweep out into the central plains as we get into next week. And in terms of the 8 to 14 day forecast, the cold weather starts to shunt to our east. Notice the warmth starting to show up. By mid-month, it may start to move into our region. And in terms of precipitation, the main active storm band will remain to our north and across the eastern United States.